Hey everyone. Sorry I'm late. Thank you for being patient. Appreciate you guys all being here. How's everyone doing? So I know it's been a little bit. I mean, not like too long, but I know some other creators do live streams a lot. So, but I usually don't like to come on here and do them unless I have something significant really to say. That way I'm not being repetitive or anything like that. But even though I need to be, just simply because I need you guys to remember, try to remember all the stuff that that I've been telling you guys for over 2 years now. Or for some of you anyways. Hey Callie, hey Katie. Hello Veronica. TH, Antoine, I saw you in here if you're still here. Hello. Hey Crystal. And let me know if my sound's okay. It should be. I don't usually have a problem with sound on StreamYard. So hey Muffy. Hey Foxy, good to see you. Hey Crystal. Hello Mark, always a pleasure. So hey Crystal. I don't know if I said hi. If I did already, then hi again. So the first thing I'm gonna go ahead and just wait, it's Katie's birthday? Or I thought it was, hey Alexis, I thought it was Katie's friend's birthday. Maybe I read it wrong. Well, if it is your birthday, Katie, then happy birthday. If not, then happy birthday to your friend. Anyways, so the first thing I want to talk about is I want to let you guys know I did post it in or on my community page yesterday, but I did receive another copyright claim against one of my videos. So I had 3 before, I believe, and then so I just got another one. So that's so 4. So in my last live, I talked about how, well, you guys know how I've been saying, if you guys have been following me for a while, how I told you guys that they were going to start slowly, removing content and scrubbing any content from social media that, I'm not on like Twitter or Facebook, but as far as like YouTube goes, they're going to start slowly scrubbing all of the Watts content that doesn't go with the official narrative, or that's conspiratorial, or is questioning, obviously, the case. So, and that's what we're seeing happening right now. Channel creators are, some are getting like 10 at a time, some are getting a couple. And those are just ones that have mentioned the fact that they have received these copyright claims. So I'm sorry, did I say copyright claims earlier? I meant to say privacy claim. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you guys. I confused myself. Yeah, privacy claims. So those are the only ones that we know for, that are, those are ones just that are speaking about it, right? So there might be several other ones that and we just don't know about them. But either way, it's still happening, and it shouldn't, because that information has been public for over 2 years now. And because of the fact that Weld County didn't bother to redact any of it in the first place. So, funny how now they're coming in and, strike us for these privacy claims. So it's absolutely ridiculous. I guess what I don't understand yet, because I haven't really spoken to any. Is it spoken? Can't talk. Why do I do these? I have no idea. I have not been in touch with any of the other creators that have received, these strikes or claims. But I guess what I'm confused about is, why are some getting strikes for the information and then some are just getting claims? Because it's all the same information as far as I know. What they're doing is they're just striking you for, like the phone numbers in the discovery. So like Kessinger's phone number, or like Chris's email, which shouldn't matter because Chris is supposed to be incarcerated, right, for the rest of his life. So why does it matter if we're showing Chris's email, which is obviously no longer active? The dude doesn't use it, right? Because as the narrative said, he's supposed to be in prison, right? But bottom line, Weld County released information. It's been public for 2.5 years. Why are they doing it now, right? So again, I'm confused why. I haven't received any strikes, like privacy strikes. And hello, Janessa. I will reply to your question. I just want to finish this real quick. So I'm not understanding why some are receiving strikes and some are receiving claims. Now with the claim, I figured out because I wanted to appeal the privacy claims. And if I say copyright, I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep saying that. The privacy claim I wanted to appeal, but since I found out that since it's a claim, I don't have an option to appeal it as if it were a strike. So the other channels that have been making these appeals, as far as I know, are winning them. But if it's just a claim, I don't have that option. So my only options, as far as I know, and I didn't find this straight from YouTube, but from what I found, my options are either removing the videos that they're giving me the privacy claims for, or I can go into YouTube's editing page or whatever that they give content creators, so they can help them edit their videos and stuff like that. So, but in that editing page that they have a blur out tool that you can use. So I can either, again, delete my video or videos that I got the privacy claim for, or I can go in and blur out the information that they're getting me for the privacy claims. And from what I read, supposedly you're supposed to, from the time that you get the email, you have 48 hours to fix the problem, right? Well, the first one I got, I think, was on the first three were on the 6th, no, a couple weeks ago at least. I think the 12th. I'd have to check again. But I just checked today and all three of those videos are still up. So I'm not sure if that 48 hours is obviously correct, because since they're still up, but I haven't done anything with them and they're still up. So I'm not really sure what's going on as far as the claims go. So maybe if anybody knows, you guys can help me out. You'd think I would know or should know, but again, I haven't talked to anybody else or any other creators that have received the claims and the strikes. So I would be curious to know what the difference is as to why some are only claims and some are strikes. But hey, Haunted Guinea Pig, nice to see you. Let me check real quick and see the one that I got a couple days ago. I went to go see what place it was on the video, and I don't know, it was weird. So let me check it again really quick. Because obviously I'm not going to go and show you guys where it is, because then I'll be live streaming and then they'll just get me for another privacy claim. So that's why I didn't show them last time either. But and one of the other ones, if you guys saw my last live stream, is they hit me for that whitepages.com page that shows that says that Chris lives in Bogota, Texas, in this little tiny house when he's supposed to be incarcerated. So even though even that's public information. So all right, let's see here. Okay, so this was on March 21st. Hi, think for yourself. This is to notify you that we have received a privacy complaint from an individual regarding your content. The video that it is my live stream that I did, same one that I got for the privacy claim last time for, was why they didn't recover Kessinger's text messages. And it says it's at 8057. Okay, let me see here. So on 80 minutes, 57 seconds is the phone data review of that says where it says in the discovery, the device is an Apple iPhone 5S serial number, yada, 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 the current operating system, and then Chris Watts at anadarko.com. Why am I getting hit for a privacy claim or concern or whatever complaint? I mean, I would imagine that the person whose information it is would have to make the claim. So that would mean that Chris would have to make this claim. So is Chris complaining about his email that's no longer active, I'm sure, or that he uses because he's supposed to be incarcerated, remember? But I have no way. I mean, I could try to contact YouTube. Good luck. But I have no way of appealing this to say, what are you talking about? Because this man's supposed to be incarcerated, right? He's supposed to be in prison for the rest of his life. So how is this guy making a privacy complaint from prison? And even without all that, again, Weld County still released the information. They didn't redact it. What they're doing is they're going in and they're trying to save their asses. Because now that it's been 2.5 years, they've already pushed their agendas on us. So, and again, I've seen this before. I've seen this before with the Vegas thing. They did the exact same thing. They released that case report unredacted or only partially redacted, I think, for some witnesses. But it still showed their name and their zip code or something. I don't know, but what's the point unless you're going to redact the whole thing, right? So they're doing the same thing with this case that they did with that Vegas event, right? And that's why I told you guys a couple weeks ago several times. I said they're going to start slowly over time because they can't just do it all at once, right? That would be too obvious. Everybody would be like, what the hell? What do you mean? You can't just delete all this shit. So they're just trying to find a loophole to do it, hoping that people either are not going to appeal it or they can just go and delete it. And hopefully that person didn't save their video and now it's gone because YouTube deleted it. By hitting people with false privacy claims, right? And that's why, these other channel creators are most likely winning the appeals. But they release this, they release the discovery and the body cam footage and everything. Like I told you guys before, they do it for a reason. They do it so that people will be intrigued by it. So they'll go in, they'll bury their nose in the discovery and go down this, rabbit hole trying to figure out what the hell happened, right? And go look up these people all involved, right? Because none of their information is private because it wasn't redacted. So yeah, people trying to find all the background of people involved, whether it be Kessinger or Chris or Shanann, whatever. And it sends people spiraling, right? And trying to figure out what in the hell happened with this case. And that's exactly what we've been doing for over 2 years now. But now that it's been over 2 years, and again, they've pushed their agendas onto us, they're slowly going in and covering their asses and hoping, that no one's going to notice. And I got knowing no one's going to notice, but they're going to think, or, people are going to think they're crazy because they're going to go, wait, I thought that none of the discovery was redacted. But now you go back into the document cloud one, right? That everybody can go and view. And it's slowly being redacted over time. And there's information, being taken away, just like Kessinger's cell phone bill, right? The first one. For the one that, the 2 months or the month that we actually need for the pay period. That Anadarko email is irrelevant. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. Let me just catch up here on the chat real quick before I get too far behind. Hey, Michelle. And to address your question, Janessa, no, I'm not saying, what was your question again? Saying that the NA is guilty or of anything or of, no, I'm not saying, well, yes and no. Do I think that she had any hands in any murders or anything nefarious as far as that goes? No. You got your emojis back, Callie? Did they go away? Okay, so do you think it has something to do with the case or like law enforcement, Megan? As far as what, Callie? As far as the hitting people with the privacy strikes and complaints? If that is your question, if that's what you mean, then yeah, I do believe it's law enforcement. Whoever's responsible for orchestrating this event is the one doing it. But yes, law enforcement, the government. Okay, so sorry about that. So okay, so as far as the sorry, I have like multiple things going on right now. This is not a good time to do this live, but that's my fault. Hey, Swamp Lover. Hey, Harmony. Hey, Curious. Hey, Vincina. Good to see you. Oh, it's okay. And like I said, nothing has happened. And as far as from what I read or what I found online is that supposedly you have 48 hours from when they send you the email about the privacy claim or complaint, and to fix the issue, right? But that was a while ago, and it's been more than 48 hours since I received the last privacy claim, and my videos are still up. So I'm not really sure. It's really not all that important to me. I mean, it is. I don't want to say it like that, but as far as like my live streams go, but I do have my other videos backed up, so it's not a big deal if they do delete my actual video uploads. Because again, like the complaints, they're not strikes, so they're not going to go against your channel. All it's going to do is just they're just going to remove it, and that's it. Hey, Sean. Hey, Dave. Good to see you. So before I move on, but again, that's what they're doing, and that's they're covering their asses for not redacting the information in the first place for 2 years, right? Because you can't just release, and I have researched this and researched this. I've read so many statutes in the and stipulations or whatever in the Colorado revised statutes that my brain is mush, because it's so much. There's so much to them, and even when you search for like keywords, I've not been able to find a definitive like actual statute that says that law enforcement or a county can release all of the documents or case files, or not all of them, but a large amount, with no one's personal information redacted. Now I can find that you must redact minors' information from like child abuse cases. I could find a statute that says that you have to redact all personal information from officer involved shooting cases, like you name it. But I can't find an actual statute that says if they release a discovery or discovery case files, that the information needs to be redacted. But the reason why I can't find it is because it's never happened before. Since when did they ever release so much information all at once? Like it's almost impossible to get information about a case or certain information, even when you Quora request it. Even if it's your own case files, it's difficult because they always find some sort of excuse not to release the information. They claim to be this, open record state, but it's always like, oh, it's not in the deemed the public, or it's whatever in the public's interest, the main one that they use, right? So it's funny that it's difficult as it is just to get your own case files with the Quora request, but then they're just going to release all this information to us, like, oh, here you go, because the mainstream media made a big hype about this one case, so we're just going to delete all this. We're just going to not delete. We're going to just be transparent and give you all this information, but not actually be transparent because we didn't actually really tell you anything relevant to the case. So I can't. So that's my. Obviously, I'm all about showing the facts and showing proof of what I'm saying as much as I can with my theory. I know that it makes it difficult for me to always give you guys facts because they scrub the information. So any other examples or any other proof of stuff from other events, there's still some stuff out there, but it's very, very difficult to find. So that's why it makes it difficult. But when I can provide facts, I'm always trying to put the sources that I use in my video descriptions, as much as possible. so that you guys don't even have to go look for the information. You can just click on the link. But again, I have read so many statutes in the Colorado Revised Statutes, but I, again, have not been able to find one that specifically states when law enforcement or Weld County releases the discovery case files without a CORA request or without a FOIA request, right, to the public and makes it available online, does the personal information of individuals involved in that discovery have to be redacted? I can't find it because it's never happened before. So it's not in the statutes. You see what I'm saying? So I can find every other case or every other situation. It says that adults' personal information has to be redacted, right, for their privacy and or for their protection, and that a minor's, more than anything, has to be redacted because they're underage and it's for their protection. But even without like that actual like statute, I think it's, you know, pretty I think we all know that anybody's personal information should be protected. And I know that's not proof, and I know it's not, you know, concrete evidence. But again, with this case, nothing is normal in this case. Nothing. So if you go and try to say, if you go and try to argue about, well, anything that they did in this case, right? Like the handling of the evidence, the lack of investigation towards Kessinger, right? The fact that Chris didn't have to give a factual basis as a part of his plea deal. Like, it's difficult because when you try to figure that out, like, how is that possible? You can't, because it's not, they're not following the actual law. You know what I mean? They're not going by their own guidelines. They're not going by their statutes. Why they're not going by their statutes is because they don't have to, because this case isn't real. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why they can get away with it is because they can legally push propaganda and lie to us. And we, the public, don't have a right to get upset because they can legally do it. Now, of course, they're not going to come out and say, hey, this bill, the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, is going to make it possible for us to say whatever the hell we want, and you guys, the public, cannot get mad about it. Sorry. Obviously, they're not going to come out and say that. That wouldn't work, right? So they stick it in this large, you know, Smith Modernization Act of 2012, this large bill, right? As like a loophole to make it happen, and they use all their jargon or whatever. So obviously they're not going to come out and admit it. But that bill is the reason why the mainstream media and the government can legally lie to us on U.S. soil. Because prior to that, the Smith Modernization Act of 1948 made it so that they can only do that on foreign land, not on U.S. soil against its own people, right? Their own people. So thank you to Obama in 2012, the mainstream media again and the U.S. government can legally lie to us. That means that the mainstream media, for example, they could lie and say that a cat was abducted by a UFO, came back as Mariah Carey, and with 3 heads. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, even as ridiculous as that sounds, which it completely is, they can lie about anything small or big. So if the mainstream media, they can lie about that. They can lie about something as big as this case, you guys. They can legally do it. And that's why people always ask me, they say, but how could they do this? How could they get away with something like this? Because they can. And even before, right? Even before the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, I'm surprised I can say that. I've been saying it so much. I can just, no problem. They were doing it before. Even before that was for hundreds of years, right? They've been doing these psyops and these orchestrated events. But with that bill, they can do it legally now, and we are not allowed, we have no say in it. So even if, let's say, for whatever reason, I just had this like damning evidence about the entire case and blew this case out of the water, right? And it woke everybody up, and everybody went, storming Rourke's, the building where Rourke is, or whoever, or the FBI. It doesn't matter how many people are awake or make a big fuss about it, because we don't have a right to, because they are allowed to do it. That means, again, making up an entire homicide case and murders, with all the people involved, it not being their real names. It might not even be their real identities, which it probably is not, because you can't release personal information of parties involved. It's you can't, okay? And even if, again, everybody in the discovery, all these people that said, I don't care, release my personal information, and I'm sorry, but when would anybody ever say that? If you have kids, you have a family, and especially in a quadruple murder homicide case, and you're just going to say, oh, that's fine, please release all my information to millions of people, because this case is huge, you guys, and some people, there's a lot of people that don't know about it, but it is huge. It's worldwide, especially with all the documentaries and everything. You see how many views these, Watts videos get. What are the odds that every single person involved is just going to say, "Oh yeah, that's fine. Well, please just put all my information in the discovery online, so everybody can go in and see where I live." And then with the internet these days, it'll be fine. I'm sure nobody will find it. No one's going to contact me. No one's going to call me. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Even if they said it was okay by law, in statutes, they're there for a reason, and it's to protect the people involved. So why was the personal information of all of these people involved in this case not protected? Because it's not real. It's not real life. Go and look up on that document cloud, go look up any other case, and you'll see that it was redacted, that it's redacted. All you're going to see in those case files, and I've looked as well, even cases that I found that Kobach and Tammy Lee worked on. Redacted, redacted, redacted. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't release those case files in the past unredacted, but if they did, they probably went in later after they were done pushing their agenda or agendas and went and redacted it, right? And the reason for doing that after the fact too is so that when someone like myself goes, hey guys, they never bothered to redact any of the information in the first place, and then someone goes and looks up the discovery online, right? And they say, what are you talking about, Megan? You're crazy. All of the information in that discovery document cloud online is redacted. Then I go, yeah, but it wasn't redacted like for 2 years in the first place. But like, so you see what I'm saying? So it's going to make me look crazy, and not just me, but other people. I mean, because think about it. Like, if that was you, if you were Nicole Atkinson, or you were Troy McCoy or anybody, and you had your full name, where you work, you know how easy it is to go online these days and literally find so much information about people. But yet you can't find any information, hardly, about the individuals involved in this case. And just because Nicole Kessinger has some of her friends delete their pictures off of their social media, she should still have some sort of past, some sort of, breadcrumb trail that we can find her. So if it was you and you put yourself in their shoes, can you imagine if you were just, a coworker or a friend of Shanann's, and you had your personal information, like your address and your full name and everything, just made available to millions of people? Would you just say, "Oh, okay, sure, that's fine, I don't care," or not have a problem with it? How is it that nobody involved in this case has an issue with their personal information being released to millions of people? I saw something, I think Alyssa, about it being a big military base. Yes, yeah, Colorado is a hot spot for military and military psyops. Hey, Eddie T, good to see you. Hey, Secret Weapon. Hey, Elfin. Thanks for being here, everybody. Oh, 33 in the chat. Dun, dun, dun. Just kidding. It's very Masonic of you guys. Okay, so 43 minutes later. Sorry, I'm not good at these. But I just talk about what comes to mind. So, so keep an eye out as far as that goes. As far as this, and obviously I'll keep you guys updated with what is going on with the privacy complaints that I keep receiving, and if my videos end up getting deleted or whatever, I will update you guys. But keep an eye out for other creators that are saying this is happening too, and if it keeps happening, and I'm mark my word, and I told you guys, and I don't ever want to like try to toot my own horn, but you guys might unfortunately you're going to probably hear it again in the next topic. But and I don't ever want to say like, oh, I told you so. So that's not me, but I told you so. I told you guys that they were going to start slowly, months ago, several times. They're going to start slowly removing Watts content from social media, and look what's happening. How did I know that? I'm not intuitive. I'm not a psychic. It's because I've seen it happen in other orchestrated events. It's what they do. So if I have to predict these things, then hopefully maybe that can be my proof or my evidence. So again, keep an eye out. They're going, and over time, and eventually, if not, I'd be very surprised. But you're going to eventually see that there's going to be no Watts content left, other than from the mainstream media or other channel creators who are just doing, again, like the body language analysis, right? Your bigger body analyzing Chris Watts or whatever channels, because that's not going against the official narrative. That's not questioning law enforcement or the government, or asking questions, all the right questions that they don't want us asking. Those will be left up because it supports the narrative, right? But you're not going to find any videos like myself or any channel video or any videos on a channel where it does expose the fact that Weld County did not redact information from the discovery. So anything like that shows the information, even if it's a stupid email address of Chris Watts, right, that it's no longer active because he's in freaking prison, or so they say, right? Any of that information, it's going to be gone. And I'm not talking about the channels that are milking this case for everything it's got and coming up with these stupid, crazy theories to steer people in the opposite direction of the truth that has no evidence to back it up whatsoever. Oh no, I'm sure those channels will still be going strong. But anybody that questions the authenticity of the case or starts asking all the right questions is going to be gone. So keep an eye out for that. The next thing I want to talk about is the 35C. Dun, dun, dun. I know I haven't talked about it a lot. Why haven't I talked about it a lot? I haven't talked about it because I don't want to say I knew without 100%, well, okay, let me take that back. I knew that the whole 35C thing was a bunch of hocus pocus, ridiculous nonsense, but I didn't know 100% that, this whole thing about Chris saying, oh, I don't want to do it anymore and backs out of it. I didn't know all that, right? But I said it, several times in my last live streams that nothing is going to come from this 35C crap. It's not. And I said that, and I know that because I'm confident in what I'm saying about this case. It's all to distract. It's to keep people focused on the case, to keep them interested in it, and to steer them in the opposite direction or give them false hope. As like I also said, this is it's like a soap opera. That's the only thing I can compare it to, because there's all these, crazy, dramatic, wild, breaking news or new theories that come out. But even with all the people that claim to know Chris and write to him, when has anything ever come from that or got us any closer to the truth from those people coming out and saying that they speak to Chris? Right? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But all hearsay. When has anything come from the leaked videos of the Zoom call or whatever? Nothing. Nothing has ever come from any of these crazy theories that are being put out there. All it's doing is causing confusion, and it's just, again, steering people in the opposite direction of the truth of this case. So that whole 35C, I told you guys nothing was going to come from it, and it did. happen. Not that it, wait, what did I just say? Nothing was going to come from it, and it didn't. You guys get what I'm saying. I haven't looked into Columbine. Oh no, God, I shouldn't even said that. You tricked me. I'm just kidding. Columbia coffee. That's what I was gonna say. Columbia coffee. I have not looked into. I heard it's good though. But I'm more. Anyway, I haven't looked into it extensively to answer your question. But from what I've heard and from what I have looked into, it's a very good possibility that it's there's a lot of fishiness to it. Hey, Mary Rose. Oh, and another reason, and again, I know this isn't solid proof, but I have to go. I lean more towards patterns and consistency than just hearsay and speculation. So, with all of the American Horror Story connections that I have pointed out to you guys, as well as other breadcrumbs and little Easter eggs that they've left for us in this case to find. So if you like that kind of stuff, then that's great. I do. But with all of those connections, I found it interesting that this person, Lana, and again, she, like I said, she may have been in Facebook groups from the very beginning. I'm not in any of the Facebook groups, but what are the odds that she comes out of nowhere? I mean, literally, she doesn't have a channel. She just shows up on Jay's channel out of nowhere. Not directly making these claims, but pretty much, at the very beginning, saying that there's a lot of inconsistencies. And I think that Chris might be innocent, and she's trying. Now we know that she's obviously thinks he's somewhat innocent and is trying to get him out of prison, right? Or for him to have the whatever that he deserves. So I found it interesting that her name was Lana, and I said it. It's funny because I said in a live chat, "What's her last name? Does anybody know?" And one of my subs said, "It's Honorati, or not Honorati, because that's Sandy and Sandy's last name, but it's very close to it, which is even more weird how close they are to one another." But she said, I thought of the same thing. Like, so pretty much she knew what I was getting at. And she goes, but I think it starts with an O. It's not with the W, Megan. So that was kind of funny because she knew what I was implying. But so I was like, is it Lana Winters by chance? But it was weird to me that her name was Lana, because in American Horror Story Asylum, there's a character whose name is Lana Winters. She's a nobody journalist who believes that a man who was admitted to the asylum after he was charged of killing his family, right? But he keeps pleading his innocence. So she actually admits herself into the asylum, even though she's not crazy, so that she can get closer to him and get the scoop and get the story, and potentially prove this man's innocence, right? And then, spoiler alert, but later on in the season, she ends up becoming famous for it, writing a book. So what are the odds that this Lana character comes out of nowhere and is trying to say that Chris is innocent, and she's like got all her binders with her, and she's doing all this to prove that Chris is innocent, right? Or he didn't get the fair sentence that he should have, and he deserves his day in court, right? Hey, I see through things. Good to see you. So with all the other connections, what are the odds that the Lana character in American Horror Story is doing the same thing that Lana? I mean, obviously you have to think outside the box a little bit. Chris isn't in an asylum, and Lana's not a journalist. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know what her occupation is outside of freeing Chris. But it's stuff like that is why I was very suspicious of Lana, and especially since she came out of nowhere, and just with all the other connections in the case. And why I knew that nothing was going to come from that 35C bullcrap. And I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but there's also more predictive programming, and it's not in just American Horror Story. I actually watched, I think I did bring this up in one of my live streams, but I watched Orange is the New Black all the way through. And it was at the kind of the same time that I was watching all of the American Horror Story anthology. So I would go like back and forth. But I think I was mostly through all of the seasons of American Horror Story at that point. So I started watching Orange is the New Black, and as I'm watching it, I'm going, wow, that's strange. That's like really similar to the Watts case, right? So I'm like, oh no, I'm just, probably whatever. Probably just a coincidence. And then I continue to watch the show, and then I just keep seeing more connections and more connections. And then I'm going, what the heck? Like, why is this so similar to the Watts case, just like the American Horror Story? But then I started like thinking, oh my God, maybe I'm just going crazy. Maybe I'm just been just too invested in the Watts case that I just think it's all connected or something. But later on, when I was listening to Amanda McMahon's interview, she mentions to law enforcement that something about Orange is the New Black, and I don't remember specifically what or why she mentioned that, but at that point I already knew that the majority of what they showed us in this case, or specific things that they say like in the interviews, mean something. Just like the trailer on Nate's, or the teaser came on Nate's TV. That was there on purpose because they wanted us to see it. They wanted us to, well, number one, it gave publicity for the show, right? Because people are probably intrigued by it and went and watched it. And then not only that, but then they have their little predictive programming and their subliminal messaging for when we go and watch it. So when I heard that her mention the Orange is the New Black again, I thought, holy shit. I'm like, I was right. There is, and I should have wrote them down, but I didn't, and I don't know if I want to go back and watch that show all again. So that's why I haven't made videos about it. But to me, the American Horror Story connections are, again, to me personally, in my opinion, are more than enough predictive programming in itself. I mean, you're talking 9 seasons of the freaking show. Hey, FRV, good to see you. 9 seasons of multiple connections in all the seasons, right? But I was like, I knew that there was some sort of connection. And that's why, because again, if there's things in this case that make you stop and go, that's weird, why would they mention that? Or why would they say that? Or if it doesn't seem like it fits, there's probably a reason for it. Because it's like, why is Amanda McMahon talking about Orange is the New Black? Like, or why is Chris, and this was brought to my attention because I don't even remember as many times as I've heard these interviews, I don't ever remember him saying anything about Criminal Minds. But one of my subs brought it to my attention, a few months ago and said, "Hey, Megan, there's a Criminal Minds. There's several episodes, but there's a Criminal Minds episode specifically that talks about the Zodiac Killer," which is, again, another connection because they are, incorporating these real life murderers and serial killers, both fictional, and fictional and real, both real and fake, into the case, just like they do and get inspiration. The producers of American Horror Story do, in their show. So the whole thing is based around the Zodiac Killer. You have the Zodiac Killer tip in the Discovery, and then you have the Zodiac Killer connection in American Horror Story that's based on an entire episode of the Zodiac Killer. So I went and I watched it, and I was like, holy cow, she's right. So, and again, Chris mentioned it for a reason. He mentions volcanoes for a reason. He mentions dioptase for a reason, and that's why they put it in the Discovery, even though they never bothered to ask Chris or Kessinger why they searched for those specific things. Why put those searches in the Discovery, but don't not bother to ask him in his interviews, right? Why did law enforcement think it was so important to put that information in it, but not important enough to ask him in his interviews? And stuff like that you you have to think about. So anyway, come to find out, more predictive programming in that show, Orange is the New Black. Now, not nearly as much as American Horror Story. Amanda McMahon also mentions Shutter Island. I've seen that movie right when it came out, I think, years ago, about the man that goes psychotic or whatever and ends up killing his family or something on that island. So I've had a chance to sit down and watch it again, but I would not be surprised if you can find more connections in that case, because again, Amanda McMahon or McMahon, I don't know how to say her last name. Is it German? No. She mentions it for a reason. Just like several people in this case have said that none of it feels real. It feels like a movie. Chris says that I've only seen stuff like this in movies or television. Frankie Jr. says it doesn't even seem real. It seems like a movie. Did I say Nicole Atkinson already? Nicole Atkinson, I put it in my video. She says, I can remember it like it was a fucking movie. There's, I think, maybe 2 other people that said it. I can't think of them right now. But that's what they're doing. They're saying stuff like that. And yeah, is that a term that people will use a lot? Probably. Oh yeah, it's it seems like it's a movie. It's not even real. But what are the odds that so many people in the same, area, I guess, they all say the same thing? They're almost going from a script. I found a couple after I had made my video about that. I think it's titled "The Truth Within Their Lies," because that's what they do. They're telling us to our faces that this whole thing is a lie. Just like his whole interview thing that he did, where he wearing his North Carolina shirt 2 days in a row, and the reporter goes, "So Shanann went to," and then stops her question, changes her question up entirely, and says, "Where'd you get that shirt?" Wait, what? Why would you ask this guy who's pleading for the safe return of his family because they're, supposedly missing? Why would you ask him where he got his shirt that he's wearing from? And not only that, but totally change up your question that you were going to ask before. Say, oh, where'd you get that shirt? And it's that, you guys have seen that, the interview on the porch thing. Oh, where'd you get that shirt? And then he just goes, he looks down, it's like, she goes, didn't Shanann get it for you? And he goes like, oh yeah, I think she got it from, and then just like totally, oblivious to everything that they were just doing about trying to find his family, and goes, but yeah, these are my favorite. I love these shirts. Literally like looks down at it, and it's what they're trying to do is they're focusing on his shirt, because in his shirt it says North Carolina. And I know that might sound kind of crazy to anybody that's new or whatever, but I'm telling you, he's like, I promise you, stick around with me for a little bit, you guys, and you'll start to see the truth about this case, and it will start to make so much sense. If you can push your emotions aside, if it's possible, but if you can't, it's going to be very, very difficult to grasp what I'm saying, or be able to see what I'm talking about with this case. So yeah, and then he goes, yeah, this is my favorite. Yeah, I really love these shirts. What are you, like 5? Yeah, my mommy got them for me. It's just nice. It's real nice. It's ridiculous. Like, how is asking this guy where he got his shirt from going to help find his missing family? Based on the narrative, right? Obviously, when I say stuff like that, I'm just being rhetorical. But if we go back to that day, why is that important to ask this guy who's supposedly worried about his family where he got his stupid shirt from? It's irrelevant. It's not going to help find Shanann and the girls, whether he got it from Amazon or at Goodwill. It was so we would focus on his shirt, because subliminally that's what they do, and subconsciously, right? And it's things like that where I would watch it and I'd go, that was really weird. Like, why? I just got that feeling. Well, that was a weird question to ask. And at the time, I was obviously super early in the, in my investigation or into my start of this case. I knew it was weird again at the time, but I didn't know why. But moving forward into today, it all makes sense. I'm like, holy shit, that makes perfect sense. This reporter, because you got to remember, you guys, the mainstream media is controlled by the same people, by the powers that be. So they're being told what to put out to the public. They're being told what questions they're allowed to ask at those conferences, right? They're limited to the amount of questions that they're allowed to ask to Rourke or to anybody. And if they don't follow it, it's likely they won't have a job. So they do it. So you have to remember that the mainstream media is in on it with them. Because in that bill that I mentioned earlier, the Smith Modernization Act of 2012, the mainstream media as well can lie legally to the public and push propaganda. So Miss Reporter Lady, journalist, interviewer, fudged her line and went off the script. Because she said, oh, so did Shanann... I mean, I can't believe they kept it in there. I can't believe they didn't edit it out or something, but maybe it was live and they couldn't. But you can see how stuff ends up going wrong with these events. Even though they're planned years in advance, you do have, the moments where, in order to make something like this believable, there's stuff that you're going to have to do live and shit's going to go wrong. It's inevitable, right? Nothing is going to go perfect. And that's one of those moments. And she fudged her line. Oh, where'd you get that shirt? Like, you really want to know where if this man that's missing his family got his freaking shirt from? Sorry, I'm being repetitive, but it's just, it boggles my mind. Hey, Jenny May. Just like Cindy's sweatshirt, Cindy Watts. She knows she's going to a televised interview about her son, just being accused of murder or pleading guilty to murder, right? And it's going to be televised, and she wears this sweatshirt, like you're just whatever, like workout sweatshirt almost, and it says North Carolina on it. I mean, I guess people can wear whatever they want, but me personally, I would not. I wouldn't like wear a prom dress to my televised interview about my son, but I definitely wouldn't wear a sweatshirt like representing my state. So it's like either this family really, really loves North Carolina, or they're trying to subconsciously tell us something. Because if they tell us what they're doing and they admit to it, even though it's not like, hey, we're lying to you, even though it is in our faces, subconsciously and subliminally, they're telling us that it's all a lie. And that's why Cindy Watts wore her North Carolina shirt to her interview. Because a whole bunch of people were going to see that interview. It's right there, right on the, dead center in the frame. So they mock us, you guys. They mock us by telling us that what they're doing, that it's not real. And I've been thinking about this lately. It's like sometimes I do forget that there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to be able to 100% again grasp what I'm saying, because sometimes it takes years for people to see the truth about what's going on in these events. Hey, Muck Boys. I mean, it's very unlikely that anybody's just going to listen to one of my live streams and say, holy shit, I totally get what she's saying. She's 100% right. Megan's 100% right. And what was I thinking? I can't believe this. Corrupt government, everything, that's crazy, But all I ask is that people just give me the benefit of the doubt and just hear what I have to say, even though it does take me a long time to sometimes get to my points. I understand that. But if you at least stick around with me for a little bit, and you didn't have a different if you didn't have a different outlook on this case afterwards, I'd be surprised. Like, and again, I didn't just one day something happened, or somebody or me just watch like one video and say and know all this information that I'm telling you guys. Like, it didn't just happen overnight. First it was 9/11, right? And that was a huge eye opener for me, and that's what got me interested in looking into the discrepancies about 9/11 and what's going on, and just hearing other people talk about it and say, hey, maybe our government isn't really here to 100% protect us, or maybe they don't They're not honest about everything they're saying. So it wasn't just overnight for me. And I think sometimes I do a little bit forget that. And so, but I don't expect you guys to just believe everything I'm saying whatsoever. But you have to be, the person has to be willing or they have to want to do the research, right? They have to want it pretty much. And if they don't, they're not ever going to be able to understand what I'm talking about. Or the ones who just maybe they know that the government's corrupt, right? Maybe they know that there's some things going on, but maybe they just, even though they know that, maybe they don't want to fully be awake. Does that make sense? Like, maybe that's more scary to them, and being in their safe bubble maybe just makes them feel secure. Like, I don't, or I don't want to go there. I just want to concentrate on providing a life for my family and put food on the table and whatnot. And again, totally understandable. There was a point to that, a different point to that. What was my point? Oh, so my point is about, not being able to see what I'm saying, or like overnight. There is a lot to this case, and even though I've never changed my theory, I did like question it a couple times. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not say that I just never doubted myself ever, but because there is so much, and there is so much, so many videos of Shanann and the girls, and of Chris, and just so much documentation, even though there is so much, and we don't really, there's a lot, but we don't have a lot, you know what I mean? But there is so much to it. But again, there's different ways of making that happen. Like, everything, it doesn't have to be difficult. There's so many different, especially nowadays, just to make things appear as though they're not. But if you think about it, with these events, they are planned years in advance, or at least the ones that are so successful anyways, because there is so much planning that goes into them. But if you think about it, how hard would it be for Shanann and Chris just to be a normal family, right? Be a normal family. Do what you do every day. Let's just say, if that's the case, if it's not completely all 100% as far as the characters involved, how hard would it be to just, again, be a family? Shanann, sell your Thrive every day, record as much of the girls as possible, get Chris in some of them, so that way when we release your, or make your Facebook profile available to the public, it'll pull at heartstrings, because they'll see how wonderful you are, how you light up a room, Shanann. See those little girls playing in the videos all the time, you taking them to the doctor's appointments. How hard would that be, right? Chris, go to work, whatever. It wouldn't be difficult until just, up until the day of the murders. And that's when you start to see murders, quote unquote. That's when you start to see a lot of the inconsistencies in the narrative, right? How Chris didn't have enough time to bury all the bodies or whatever, and dispose the bodies and do whatever he did. And then you have lack of motion. You have duper's delight. You have all the stuff that takes into play with this body cam footage. Because in order to make this case so believable and to pull people in so much and get them intrigued by it and so invested in it, that's what they had to do. And that's why when people watch Shanann's videos, they became emotionally attached to it. They say, some people said, hey, I even feel like I know Shanann. I feel like she's a sister to me. That's what they do. They do it on purpose. It pulls at heartstrings. It pulls people in. And sure, you could say, hey, Chris did this and this and this and this, or the mainstream media could tell us that, or law enforcement. But if you really want to pull people in and get them invested and so that they go into these rabbit holes, what better way to do it than release body cam footage and security footage from the neighbor and body cam footage of the killer's dad being transported to the hotel or picking Dieter up from the house, even though it's neither one of those is relevant to the case, but it pulls people in. It's sad. The Thayers are going to pick Dieter up from the house. This is terrible, and it brings emotion out of people. Look at Chris's poor father. He can't even go to the house because his son just confessed to killing his whole family, right? Or at least Shanann. So now he's got to go stay in a hotel. It's very sad as we're watching Ronnie being transported, right, by law enforcement. And that's what draws at heartstrings. It pulls at people's emotions, even though it's never happened in another case before, or showing the footage of Chris being fingerprinted. I just made a word up. It's like footed and printed at the same time. Into Weld County. When have they ever done that? When have we ever seen an entire whatever that goes on as a inmate, unless you work in the prison, right? Like unfold. Never. But they release all this stuff for a reason, you guys, and that's why so many people are so infatuated with this case, because of the amount of information that was released. But it's done like that for a reason. And the more horrific the crime, the more it pulls at heartstrings and gets people emotionally invested in the case, so that when someone like myself tries to point out the inconsistencies and show the truth about it, people are not going to want to hear it because they're so upset and they're so emotionally invested in the deaths of these innocent people, right? Or so the narrative says. And even if there's some parts in it where it doesn't seem possible, like the fact that Chris doesn't fit the profile, and it doesn't seem like from his reactions, like, he can't even say a sentence without saying like, he doesn't, I mean, if you look at him, you guys, like, just try to look at it differently. Forget, everything that they've told us. Just look at Chris's interviews. Does that look like a murderer to you? Like a cold-blooded murderer who annihilated his entire family with his bare hands. And not because someone else did it. And that's what people are going to. They're like, well, he doesn't seem like a killer, so somebody else must have done it. No. It's because it's not real. That's why so many people think that he couldn't have done something like this, because he couldn't have, because it's not realistic. Yes, do murders happen? Are there psychotic people out there? But if you really look at it from a different perspective and look at the way Chris acts in his interviews, or how the law enforcement was always leading him and finishing his sentences for him. It's because they wanted to make sure that the narrative and the story stayed on track. That's why they were always leading him, like especially in the Wisconsin interview. Oh, so did you do this because you felt this way, Chris? I thought you were there because you wanted to ask him questions and you wanted to understand why he did what he did more, so that you can have better knowledge or whatever if something like this happens again in the future, to learn, understand, or to understand and learn why he did what he did. Because they said, oh, we had so many unanswered questions. But here they say that they ask him questions and then they finish his sentences for him, or they lead him. It's just, there's so many ridiculous things in this case. And once you, and hopefully you do see the truth with this case, it's going to be like so obvious, like it's so crazy obvious. And you're just gonna, and you're gonna feel so much, there's gonna be so much weight lifted off your shoulders. Even if it admits that you've been duped, it's going to be one of those times where you're just going to have to suck it up, swallow your pride, and say, damn, that really fucking sucks. And I'm pissed off because I let this case emotionally affect me in my life. For some people, not everybody, but there's a lot of people out there where this case has really, really affected people a lot. But that's the purpose of them. That's a reason, that one of the reasons for them. So that people are always constantly in fear. So they're always worried. So they feel like they can't trust anybody. But, you know, swallow your pride and say, I can't believe that I you know, cried all the time over for this case or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're a human. You're, you know, that's what people should do, because it's horrifying. It's a very, very sad story, right? But if you can, you know, hopefully say that sucks, but you know what? I'm not going to let this happen to me again. I'm not going to let them get away with this again. I want to know about this information so that it doesn't. And so that these orchestrated events, so they don't, because they're not going to stop. They're going to keep happening. And again, nobody wants to admit that they've been duped or fooled or lied to. I get that. So when I say, you know, oh, just swallow your pride and just suck it up, like, I know it's a lot easier said than done when you're not that person, especially if you're the kind of person who is affected by stuff like this emotionally more than others. But you have to remember that not everything is what it appears to be. And there's some shitty fucking people in this world, you guys. And I don't care how beautiful they are, how they light up a room when they walk in, or turn the video camera on, or what they tell you, if that they're victims and they're hurting and they're being they're getting death threats. But they do that on purpose, so that when someone like myself, again, or anybody else, starts to ask questions, whether it be about Nicole Atkinson, whether it be about the Ruseks or the Watts, it's, how dare you? How dare you try to call out these victims? Being a victim, unfortunately, does not make you a saint. It doesn't make you a good person. It unfortunately just makes you a victim to a horrible act, right? And I think a lot of people, like, for some reason, they don't realize that. It's like, when does it, like, just because someone's a victim, when does it how does that make them, you know, a 100% angel? And it's not like, you know, I'm going and attacking these victims for, and I'm not attacking anybody, but I'm just saying, like, it's not like I'm questioning these victims for no reason. I'm questioning it because of all the inconsistencies in the case. You see what I'm saying? I don't just go around accusing like victims of lying or being deceitful or not being who they are. Because then that would be messed up, obviously, right? But you have to take into consideration all of the discrepancies and inconsistencies in this case. But the reason, in my opinion, why they're doing that, saying we're victims, we're getting death threats, poor us, is to pull at more heartstrings so that people say, oh my God, this is terrible. The poor Ruseks, the poor Watts, whatever side you're on. So again, that when people like myself start to call them out on their bullshit, I'm going to be the one that's the piece of shit. I'm going to be the one that looks like the bad person. It's done that way on purpose. And excuse me, if I get disconnected, my cat's standing on my keyboard right now. He walks up to my laptop and just plops down and just sits on it like, what are you doing, kitty? Hello. Hi. Rusty. Hi. What are you doing? What are you doing? You gonna disconnect me? But again, I don't want anybody to, and if you know they are listening to me for the first time, the last thing I want to do is be disrespectful to anybody. But when it comes down to it, my purpose here is to expose the truth in this case. And if that means, okay, now he's printing. Okay, all right. But my reason for doing this is to expose the truth in this case. So that if that means calling, you know, victims, quote unquote, out on their bullshit, then that's what I'm going to do. Now, you're not going to see me, and if you have been following me for a while, you'll know that I've done my best to be as respectful to people not only involved in this case, but other people that have been affected by it as well. But over time, I started to say, this is getting me nowhere, unfortunately. And I'm going to, if I don't want to waste anybody's time or my time, I'm going to have to, unfortunately, hurt some feelings, and people are not going to like what I have to hear. But I can't, I'm not going to, I decided I can't waste my time anymore worrying about other people's feelings when getting to the truth is more important. Because if more people don't wake up, it's not going to be a good situation for any of us, no matter where you are in the world. If those people want to spend the rest of their lives in a bubble, fine. I don't judge them. I get it. I understand it. And, you know, and some people, sometimes they don't have time to research information because they do have lives. I get that as well. But I'm definitely not going to have time or explain myself to anybody who is going to like attack me for my theories or for my opinions when I have been nothing but respectful. And even though my theory doesn't shine a good light on all of the people involved, and even Shanann, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I've still done, you know, there's still a way of doing things respectfully. And, you know, and getting around that as far as that goes. Hey, high hopes. Oh yeah, definitely. Secret weapon about, you know, blaming Masons, and that's the thing too. Is it's like everyone's so quick to say like, oh, Dwayne Kessinger is a Freemason, and you know all these theories when there's no even the evidence to even prove that. Like it's just they go so quickly straight to that, and I'm not saying that it's like all Freemasons that are orchestrating these cases, or that they're all bad, right? Terrible, like Moloch worshiping occultists. Like, unfortunately, there are those higher up ones that use that to unfortunately discredit any other Masons that are good people who, you know, do have families and you know, just your everyday normal citizen, right? Who just want to be a part of something. So everyone just automatically assumes that all Freemasons are bad when that's not really not the case whatsoever. But again, unfortunately, those ones that are, you know, in higher power are the ones that are ruining it for, or giving the Freemasons a bad name. Just like, you know, the number 33. It's just a number. There's nothing evil or satanic about it. It's the people who are coining it that, you know, or that are using it. And that's how, you know, the number 33 or 13 gets a bad name, because the powers that be, or whatever, whoever they are using those numbers as part of their whole thing that they do, right? And that's where, you know, oh, 33 is satanic or whatever. It's not. It's just a number. Hey, Temperance. What is SR channel? I don't know what SR is. Is that Sandy? Oh, real quick, I mentioned this before, probably once or twice in my other live streams, but it doesn't hurt to mention it again. Here's a fun fact. Did you guys know that they're in the same neighborhood as the Watts? There is a street called Graham and also another street called Meacham, like Graham Coder and Christina Meacham, Shanann's fellow thriver and friend. What are the odds that two of the streets, and okay, Graham, granted, might be pretty common. Meacham is definitely not a common last name. Add that two together, right? What are the odds that there's a Graham Street and a Meacham Street in the same neighborhood as the Watts? It's stuff like that where it's ridiculous, and it keeps, and they're all over the place. It's not just one, but what are the odds? Buddy says hello. Hey, Hard Eyes. Are you talking about Albert Pike's book, Alyssa? Yeah, I would like to. I have Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teaching of All Ages. It's amazing. I haven't had a chance to obviously read all of it, but I did use it a lot for my occult video that I made about this case. Okay, so I'm like, oh, short live. I'll have to change the title. I don't know why I do that. I planned on doing a short one here and then going to DLive. And I titled it Boulder because I do want to get into Boulder real quick before I end this, but so I want to try to keep it under 2 hours. Boulder, Boulder, Boulder. Where do I start with Boulder that just happened? I'm very limited to what I can say on here about that event. I did, the day it happened, I was driving home and I heard about it. And so I rushed home to cover it. I didn't rush home. I was on my way home. But once I got here, I rushed onto the computer and covered it for, an hour or so on DLive. Because over there, for now, it's not as censored and I can freely talk about these kind of events without having to worry about walking on eggshells for the time being, at least. There's so much wrong with that event, and I've mentioned this before, that it's not just in true crime that these orchestrated events are happening, and that there's other channel creators who are covering the bigger events, I guess, even though the Watts case is big, but pretty much that they're happening in other events, not just true crime. Not all tragic events, but a lot of the tragic events that are happening, especially the ones in the high profile, all over the mainstream media, right? Those ones. But I will tell you on here that all these symbolism, obviously the numerology is all over the Boulder case or event. You have the Lee names that I mention a lot, and the reason the meaning behind the Lee names and why the name Lee was used so many times in this case are showing up in these other tragic events as well. This is how I believe that I'm going to hopefully, prove to you guys like what I'm saying. Not prove, but because again, with my theory, I know that I don't have like 100% hard factual evidence for all of it, but I'm hoping that the patterns will be my evidence, because the truth is in the patterns, because they use it, the same numerology, the same color schemes that they like to use, their gematria, all their little Easter eggs that they put into these events. You will find them if you know about them, and they're very, very easy to spot once you do. So I'm hoping that if you guys remember them and you listen to what I'm saying, and you take that in the future with these other events, and you start to see the things that I was talking about in this case in those other events, I'm hoping that will be my evidence for you guys. Does that make sense? Yeah, Alexis, I don't have a PayPal. I mean, I do, but the reason why I decided to go with Cash App is because PayPal, it's so stupid, especially for someone like on social media like myself. They won't let you use like a nickname. Like obviously you have to sign up with your real name and give them your real address and information, but they won't let you use like an alias or do like a screen name for when people want to donate to you that don't know you, right? So like anybody on social media who has like you know, obviously strangers like sending them donations, um you have to display your real name. And to me, I think that's crazy. I think it's just like an invasion of privacy. So um I do have PayPal, but I don't obviously use it for that reason. But I did put, there's another um link that I put in the chat that you can donate to, and it will send it to my PayPal. And it's kind of cool too, because unlike the Cash App, if you donate, a little thing will pop up on the screen and you can like write out a message and it reads it. I don't know. But I put the link in the chat. So yeah, Jenny, it's a new one that I found that someone on DLive uses for donations. But like I said, it's kind of cool because it's like the super chats. So as to where, you know, and I think sometimes with the membership stuff, like people like to show their generosity, you know, or have other people see their generosity, or for whatever reason. I think people just like the whole everybody seeing the donation thing. Sometimes people want to be anonymous, but again, with this one, the one that I just put in the chat, on like the Cash App, they have the option to have it like a super chat show up on the stream screen, stream screen, scream queen, stream screen, and then write a message too, or no message. So I don't know. I figured I tried it or try it. But at least with that one, like I can still, you know, I don't have to put like my full name out there, um, and it will go to my PayPal, and it doesn't take out as much as like YouTube, obviously, not nearly as much. It doesn't take out 30%. It's crazy. Yeah, exactly, Crystal. And it's not that I'm like trying to be secretive or anything, but I mean, you never know. Like, there's a lot of crazy people out there, and especially with this case that I'm covering, it's just not something that I want to do. And so if that meant, you know, not receiving anything, it was fine by me. So, and again, that's not why I'm doing this, but and that's why you guys are never going to see me say come to Patreon to hear what I have to say, or to hear what I have to say, because I can't say it on here because I'm limited to what I can say on here. But that's all bullshit, because obviously you guys can see that I found a way to do it without charging people a fee to hear what I have to say. You shouldn't be charging people a fee when you're claiming that your whole thing is about getting to the truth of the case. Obviously, like, donations are great, but they're not mandatory. They're not whatever, you know. It's nice, but that's not why it's not what I'm here for, you know. Let me see if I'll show you guys real quick what this other thing that I signed up for does. Just to show you guys an example. I heard it. Oh, it showed up in, okay, never mind, I forgot. I have to use OBS. That's what it is. So I have to be using, you have to put in like a link for it to do it, but I don't know how to do that in StreamYard. That's what I don't know how to use, but it works. If you guys heard that, it works on my other streaming thing. But anyway, so the Boulder case, right? It's so obvious, and it's, of course, again, it's tragic. It's very, very tragic what the narrative is telling us. But I want to go over it on DLive because it's so important to what I've been trying to tell you guys and what to show you guys. And this is one of the more obvious ones. And what do you know? It's in Colorado, and what do you know? They just happen to be pushing for you know what right after it happens. It's just another reason to take our rights away. Something I found interesting too is that, well, not only did the Smith-Mundt Act of 2012 come out in 2012, the Watts moved to Colorado in 2012. Thrive was established in 2012, and I believe, no, Vivint had been around for a while. But there's a couple more 2012s that keep popping up with this case. But yeah, so I don't know. That could be totally coincidental, but what are the odds? Oh, well, you have American Horror Story that aired in 2011, which is very close. But yeah. What are the odds? 2012, Thrive was established. 2012, Watts moved to Colorado from North Carolina. They just packed everything up and said, well, we're leaving, even though we're big family people. And the Watts just happened to move right into the dead center of Weld County, where it's the county that holds 90% of Colorado's oil. They move right to the front line. And it just so happens when that Chris works for the oil company that was at risk of losing millions, if not billions of dollars, right around the same time that these alleged murders took place. What are the odds? And not only that, but the same time that Anadarko was dealing with their merger with Occidental. Oh, and Chris just happened to search for, so here's another one of those examples that I didn't think of earlier. Law enforcement thought that it was important enough to put that Chris searched for Oxy, but they didn't think it was important enough to ask Chris in his interview why he searched for Oxy. In my opinion, it was just another thing, predictive programming, foreknowledge, that the Occidental and Anadarko deal was going to take place. Because why put it in the discovery? Why would you feel that it was so important for us to see that Chris searched for Oxy? And then, one, don't bother to put any side notes or anything in there saying this is why he searched the Oxy, or bother to ask him in his interviews. The reason why they did it is on purpose. Because it's what they do. They like to play these little games. They like to throw it in our face. They like to tell us what's going to happen in the future, because a lot of what has happened has already been planned for us before it even happened, before we knew about it. It's already planned out. But then you have Chris come out and say that it was like, oh, because I was going to try to make Shanann miscarry and da-da-da. No. It's all a bunch of nonsense. Or, hey, Chris, why did you Google or search? I hate to use Google because I don't want to give them any publicity. Not that they need it. Why did you search for Partukin volcano and Mount Kalima? Partukin? Something. Or Mount Kalima? Do you happen to have a some sort of passion for volcanoes? Is it, do you maybe like triangle things, shape things? Maybe you just really like triangles, and volcanoes are triangle shaped, kind of. Are you planning to go on a volcano research journey or something? Like, why didn't they ask him in any of his interviews why he searched for 2 different volcanoes? Because they wanted us to see that. And you can't tell me that in this day and age, with using cell phones all the time, that that's the only thing that you found in Chris's phone that seemed significant enough to put in the discovery. You know how many things that I search a day for on my phone? I don't know either, but it's a lot. So the fact that they want us to believe that those are the only significant things that either Chris or the only significant things that, or that they found significant in Chris's search history, those are the only things that they could find that they thought of significance, that they thought it was that important to put in the discovery. But then, of course, they don't tell us, they don't explain anything of it, and we're going, why the frick did Chris search for 2 different volcanoes? And we're trying to, like, rack our brains, right? I mean, I don't know if everybody was, but to me, I want to know why he Googled freaking volcanoes. I mean, granted, yeah, he could just really like volcanoes, but why was that so important for law enforcement to put that in the discovery out of everything else? Why was that so important? And then not give us any explanation or any understanding as to why the man searched for volcanoes or why he searched for Oxy. Because that whole Oxy story didn't even come out until much, much later. Oh, okay, secret weapon. Enjoy your break. I don't blame you at all. I would, if it were me, I would take a break from it entirely. I only say that because obviously I'm doing, I don't take a break from it for a specific reason, just because I'm trying to get the truth out there. But it wouldn't hurt anyways. But thank you for being here, Secret Weapon. I appreciate it. So the Oxy search didn't come out until much, much later, right? I mean, the not the search, but the whole Oxy theory. Because law enforcement didn't give us a reason as to, or an explanation as to why he searched the Oxy, and they didn't bother to ask him. But the reason why they did it is because the majority of what they showed us in this case means something. It represents something. It's code for something. They want us to search volcanoes so that we go down the rabbit hole and find their little breadcrumbs, and that's exactly what I've done. And I found many things. That's what they want us to do. So whether or not you search a volcano and you find the actual meaning of as to why they showed us that, or whether you search for it and you're subconsciously or subliminally or whatever, somehow conditioned or whatever, not conditioned, that wasn't the right word. Whether you search for it and you don't realize the meaning behind it, either way, we're still doing what they wanted us to do, and to bury our heads in the discovery and try to figure out what the hell happened, because obviously they didn't give us the answers to all the questions that they left us with, and that was done for a reason, and they're never going to answer those questions for us. This case was not meant to be solved. There's inconsistencies in it, probably just because inconsistencies and mistakes happen, but there's also a lot left out, and a lot of, different situations or whatever on purpose, like, Troy going back for the wrench, right, to Survey 319. So that it confuses people, like, well, why did Troy go back for the wrench? And that's weird. Like, why didn't he just tell law enforcement? Like, he probably is there for some other nefarious reason or something. It's to throw people off course, and so that people, again, will bury their heads and try to figure out what the hell happened to this case. But in reality, they're never going to. It's never going. You can't, number one, solve a case on only based it off, half of the evidence. Yeah, you can point out inconsistencies, and you can find everything wrong. Go back and read the discovery 100 times, and you might find something that you missed. But when it's only half of the evidence, and I say that lightly, like evidence, it's going to be very, very, very difficult, if not impossible. And only that, but we don't even know if the evidence that we've been given is even factual. Hey, Crisis, good to see you. Hey, James. Or like the dioptase, like, why, Chris, did you, like, hey, Chris, I'm just curious. We thought that, the fact that you searched for dioptase was, might be relevant or something. Could you explain why maybe you searched for dioptase, or is that like Kessinger's favorite stone or something, or mineral, or is it because maybe it sounds like psyop case? I don't know. Somebody brought that to my attention, one of my subs, and also friend. She says, did you pronounce that dioptase sounds very, very similar to psyop case? I'm like, whoa, that's kind of weird. But either way, why didn't law enforcement ask why Chris searched for dioptase, or tell us why the hell they thought that it was relevant to the case that they needed to put it in the discovery? It's not relevant. They wanted us to see it, and they put it there on purpose because, again, the majority of what they showed us in this case means something. Why put it in there and then not tell us or give us some sort of like explanation as to why Chris may have searched for this dioptase? Because they want us to search dioptase. They wanted people to come up with all these theories. Well, maybe he searched dioptase because he wanted to grind it and put it, or Kessinger wanted to do it, or I don't know, whatever. Make a drink out of it and make it Chris hallucinate, or because it has magic spell abilities or healing, whatever. They put it in there with no explanation so that we as humans, right? If we can't find the answers, or if we can't get the answers from the source itself, or the best person or people we know to, or wherever, to get those answers, if they can't provide those for us, then we as humans are gonna try to find those answers on our own, right? And no matter what theories we come up with, well, we're gonna come up with every theory to try to find the answers. That's why they do it. They put it in there with no explanation for that reason. How long have we been trying to figure out what the hell Chris searched dioptase for, and what could be the reason for it, and all the theories that people have come up with? Or what about why Chris searched for GIT? They put that in the discovery, never once asked Chris why he searched for GIT, an acronym. right? And I'm not even going to get into that. I was going to put it in my power and energy video, but I thought that would probably be way, way too conspiratorial. But what I found is very, very, very strange, to say the least, because there's not many things that GIT can stand for at all. But the point is that they put it in that discovery, never once asked Chris, and never even gave us any footnotes or anything as to why he may have searched for GIT. There's several other examples that I'm sure I'm missing where they've never given us an explanation as to why he did that or bothered to ask him. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why there's so much left out in this case. There's so many gaps and there's so many holes, and and they lead to nowhere, right? Nothing that they've given us it has given us any closure or gave us any closure, right? Because that's what a lot of people want. The majority of people want closure. They want to know why this happened. They want to know how someone like Chris could murder his entire family with his bare hands. No, not sit, muck boys. Get G as in George. GIT. He could, maybe he looked up tit. I don't know. But they didn't put that in the discovery though. That probably wouldn't have been as confusing as get for me anyways, but I don't know. But I don't remember what I was saying. The tit threw me off. Dang it. Hey, sunshine. But it's, again, it's stuff like that they put in the discovery that there's no relevance to it, Or just like how they put over 230 pages of the letters from women to Chris in prison into the discovery. How is that relevant to the case? How does that get us any closer to figuring out why this event happened or why Chris did what he did, or to relevant to putting a because that's what, as far as I know, their reason for releasing the amount of information that they did to us is to give us transparency, right? And closure as to how something like this could happen, and that the right person is behind bars, and that law enforcement did what they say they do or are there for, to, have the best interest of the public. But really, they weren't transparent at all. They didn't give us any closure. They haven't given us any closure. They left us with more questions than answers. More questions than you would find in a case where they didn't release this amount of information to the public, right? Because it is a lot, if you think about it. I mean, it is compared to anything else, right? But how is it that so much information was released, yet we still have more questions? It's because it's done that way on purpose. These people know what they're doing. They are professionals. They are master manipulators. They have been studying us, and I don't want to say that like we're lab rats, but I mean, essentially we are. They know and have seen how certain things are going to trigger people, what's going to make people mad, what's going to cause a reaction, what's going to cause chaos, what's going to pull at heartstrings. Even when someone like myself who knows a lot about these cases, I mean, there's so many other people out there that know so much more than I do, but I know enough to know what's going on, but there are people that are more have so much more knowledge about these, that have been researching them for years and years and years and cover multiple ones, but I don't know what I was saying. I don't know why I always lose my train of thought. Get to the point, Megan. Worst streamer ever. Oh, I know what I was saying. Even though I know a lot about these events, and I'm able to spot them, just when you think, for the most part, that you are, caught up to them or whatever, they're always going to be like, a few steps ahead of us. And the less people that are awake and that are falling for these lies and the deceit, the stronger and stronger that they are going to become. The less people that are awake, the more they're going to put these events out there. They're not going to slow down at all. No, you're right. Yeah, I see through things. You're 100% correct. They're definitely not meant to be understood. And that's the thing too. It's like, if everybody saw this case, every single person immediately noticed this case for what it really is, then it wouldn't be a very good psyop. You know what I mean? But that's what makes it so great, is that so many people have been deceived. I mean, not so great. I don't want to say that sounded bad, but I mean, so successful is because it was orchestrated well. It was planned out well. And that's what's made it so successful. Because again, if everybody noticed that right off the bat, then they wouldn't be happening, right? Because they wouldn't be very good. Or if everybody was able to spot a master manipulator, then that would kind of the title wouldn't be correct, because they wouldn't be a very good manipulator. You know what I mean? So, okay, I'm going to end this though, because I went over 2 hours, but I do want to, and I didn't get into Boulder as much as I like to, but I think that's probably a good thing. I definitely do not want to draw any attention as far as that goes to my channel, as far as like the algorithms go or whatever. Because those other events, like the Boulder one and stuff, those are like, I don't go there on here anyways, but I do want to go over it extensively, or more anyways, on DLive. So if you would like to hear more about the event, I want to be able to show you guys that even though they're two different events, they're both tragic events, but although they're, essentially different, that they're very alike, and that they're using these same red flags that I've been telling you guys about for 2 years now in other events as well. And so this is going to be my opportunity to show you, some more of that evidence as far as what I'm saying. So if you don't follow me on DLive, but you guys, and I appreciate everybody showing up, or at least following me on DLive, but nobody shows up to the lives. So I don't know if people are not getting notifications, but like, hopefully I can, get enough of you over there so I don't have to do a live stream. I'll still do live streams on here, but hopefully without having to go live on here and say, hey, I'm doing a stream on DLive. I'm hoping that the notifications from DLive will just be enough in itself. But hey, everybody, hates Chris. Good to see you. But if you're not following me over there, I did put, and you're interested in hearing what I have to say more over there, since I am not as censored. And it's so nice. I can just like say certain things without having to like worry about it. And I'm like, oh my God, that was so much easier than YouTube. And it does actually save a lot of time, believe it or not. Because I did do a Chris Watts Q&A a week or so ago, which actually the replay, believe it or not, had like a 380 views on the replay. I couldn't believe it, because that's a lot for DLive in 3 days. Even some creators that have replays that have like 11,000 followers over there only have like 200 replays. So that was actually pretty amazing. But it gets deleted after 3 days. So Muck Boys, DLive is just another streaming platform that a lot of the truth channels that were on on YouTube went over to DLive, because it's not as censored over there, and they're able to talk about things more freely. So it's not going to be forever, I'm sure. So I'm trying to use it to my advantage while I can, before it does start the censorship over there gets bad. So, but here I'm always having to walk on eggshells and worry about what I'm saying. And I know some people think, oh, you're being dramatic, but I'm really not. I've seen many channels covering other events that have holes in their narrative. They've had their channels taken down once, sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times, and they've had to start all over again for talking about the same things that I am. And it's taken me 2.5 years just to get to where I am now. So the last thing I want to, do, would be pretty discouraging to lose my channel on here and have to start all over again. So, as dramatic as it may seem, or if it doesn't seem like I'm being transparent, or I'm just like talking in circles, it's really not that. Like I know what I'm allowed to say and not say without like triggering algorithms. So that's why I do streams here and also on DLive, because at DLive I'm able to go more into detail about my theory on this case. So awesome. Great. Thanks, Muck Boys. It should, Crisis, because all you have to do, if you do like a pop-out window, you should be able to just minimize it. Because that's what I do all the time. I play poker on a website and watch another stream on DLive. So I might do one in a little bit after dinner. I don't know. Like I might just do it, and then if enough people show up, then I'll do it. But then I might just stream something else. So oh, I know, Callie, you're so great. You're awesome. Callie's been around for probably since the beginning, but if not, for a very long time, and she's always been so supportive. She's great. It is late there for you, huh, Callie? I appreciate it. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to get some dinner. I don't know why I have accent now, but that's what I'm going to do. But I know that Jenny May put the link to my DLive in the chat, but it's also in the description as well. And I also signed up for another website or another streaming platform, which they don't have streaming capabilities yet, but it's called Odyssey. And you can actually like earn like cryptocurrency from just watching content. And just by following me on Odyssey, you can actually, they give you credit or crypto just for following me. So it's something new to try. That link is also in the description if you're interested in going over there. It's another one of those platforms that's not censored like it is here on YouTube. So a lot of truth channels are going over to these different platforms. So see you, Mark. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. All right, guys. I will talk to you later.